Well,
Okay.
why do I leave medicine and take up politics? Actually, it's the other way around. I went into politics when I was in school. I was a leader of a group in school, very concerned about the Malay Union. We were campaigning, we were doing a lot of things, but who would take seriously a schoolboy? Nobody took me seriously. So I decided that I must have something to make people believe in what I say. And the easiest thing, of course, is to get a university education, to become a doctor or lawyer. In fact, I wanted to become a lawyer, but I didn't get a scholarship to study law. I got a scholarship to study medicine. I know I wasn't going to reject that. I studied medicine. I came back as a doctor. I had more credibility. As a doctor, people tend to believe more in what I say. So it's the other way around. It's a politician who wanted to become a credible politician, but needs to have something to latch on. And I thought that university education would make people think of me seriously. So that is the real story. I was in politics in school. I couldn't be a doctor at that time.
Okay. So, but you were a very successful physician. You were having your own practice. You built a house. You even had a chauffeur at those days. And then in the midst of it all, you decided to quit and move into politics. So basically, you're saying it's a lifelong dream from day one?
Well, when I was practicing as a doctor, I was quite popular, quite successful. And that popularity and success make people think that I should do something about the politics.
Okay.
And I also was inclined that way. So, okay, I joined UMNO. I was among the first to join UMNO. And then, of course, that took up most of my time. I had to accept that I cannot be a successful doctor at the same time a successful politician. I have to make some sacrifices. And I decided that the future lies in politics, not in medicine. Medicine I can practice at any time. At least that was what I thought. But I know now that I cannot practice. I have lost touch. But as a politician, I think I have been also equally successful as when I was a doctor.
Yes, you have actually. So how did Tun Siti, Dr. Hasmah, take the news? Or she always knew that, you always wanted to switch careers and being a doctor was just on the sideline. Did she always know that? Or?
Well, I don't confide in her my feelings, my ambition, my plan. But she is very tolerant, and she realized that I was interested in politics. She did not stand in the way. She supported me when I went into politics. You can see her going with me to almost every campaign that I was doing at those times. So she was no obstruction to my wish to progress in politics.
Okay, awesome. So when you entered into politics, was being a prime minister always the end goal? Or was it just, for the greater good?
No, I never thought I would be the PM. I mean, the PM in those days come from elite families, well-known families, not ordinary person. My father was a school teacher, and I was very low in the estimate of people. But people seem to accept my argument, and they begin to ask me to talk, and I get better exposure. And I think somehow or other, Tun Razak seemed impressed. Tun Razak has always been close to young people. Many of the people who were around Tun Razak were young people, about my age. You see, so I think he thought that I should be a minister. You know, when they decided to have the election in 1969, I lost. But even though I lost, I was still appointed by Razak as advisor to the Minister of Education. I am quite sure that had I won, I would have been Minister of Education. So I suppose my ability to gain popularity, to talk to people, to explain things, people always remark that I use simple language, which people can understand. And I think in a way, I must have made an impression on Razak to the point where he was willing to do something for me.
Okay, so what are some of the best perks of being the Prime Minister? So, like in the US, do you get briefed a lot of the country's secrets before you take the job, or what are the best thing, like, you know, because you had two careers, one is a physician and the next one is, I think, politician, PM.
Long ago, before I was a doctor, before I was a politician, I realized that people do not like pushy people, people who want to promote themselves, always telling people about who they are and all that. So one of the things I did when I became Minister of Education was to tell the staff not to use my name for any school. Before that, every minister had their names given to schools. Khair Johari even had his wife's name. I told them, no, you cannot use my name for schools, for roads, or whatever. And I don't want you to put my pictures up, because I thought that that would give the impression that I was promoting myself. I don't want people to see that, because I think that would be more acceptable to people than if you push yourself too much. A lot of people complain about, oh, this man is trying to get something for himself. I wanted to show that I did not want to get anything for myself. I want to do work. But strangely, that made me more popular.
That's good. So you kind of rejected all the perks that came with the job. Is that right?
Yes, I didn't ask for anything. For example, you know, when the Prime Minister retires, they gave him lots of money. They came to see me when I was about to retire and offer me land in Putrajaya. I told them I don't want. I don't want any free gifts. But if you want to sell the land to me, I will buy. And I bought. I didn't get any free land. I didn't get a cent as a gift because of my service and all that. And yet for Najib, they want to offer him $100 million. For what? Abdullah got 70 million. Yet before that, I got nothing. But I didn't tell people. When I rejected all gifts, I didn't tell people. I thought that telling people is also a way of promoting yourself.
Okay, that's very good, Tun. So, Tun, like I said, you are very successful. In Wikipedia, they say you're a very successful doctor, but were you happy with your salary as a Prime Minister in comparison to your Singaporean counterpart? Because he gets about 2 million a year, and yours only is like 60,000 USD a year, so around 20,000 a month. It's really, really low. And, you know, in comparison to some Sydney executives, they get more. So what is your take on the salary?
I thought I was being well paid. As a private practitioner, I was making $2,000 a month. When I became Prime Minister, the salary was $8,000 a month. 4 times what I made as a private practitioner. Over the years, the salary was increased. At the time when I retired, I was getting 20,000 a month. And I didn't use a single cent of that. I didn't use any of the salary because the government provides me with a house, paid for my electricity bill, water bill, provided me with transport, with cars and all that, and even aeroplanes. I don't have to spend any money. The only money I have to spend is for food. But how much is that? So I saved all my salary, and I thought that I was very well paid by comparison to executives in the private sector. I know one executive who was paid 180,000 a month. And you know what he did? He cheated. After getting that kind of money, he still cheated. When I asked the boss, why do you pay such a high salary? Or he said, you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. That's his answer. But I was paid only 20,000, and I thought that I was very well paid.
Okay, so you were basically happy with it, very happy with it.
I was very happy.
Awesome. Awesome, Tun. So before your retirement, your first retirement in 2003, in public events, which I have attended as a news reporter, I've heard you mention in speeches that, you won't see through Wawasan 2020 because by then you had retired, right? But fate would have had it that you became the Prime Minister again in 2018 and, on a very short period in 2020. So I just was curious, like, how did you feel during those months? Did you feel surreal, like in shock, like, disbelief that I got this job the second time around?
Yeah, I got the job the second time around because of Najib, because he was so bad that people want to reject him. And I appear to be a prominent ex-Malay leader. And they need a Malay because Najib was using UMNO, a Malay party, to win election. So they need a Malay party to defeat him. And the focus was on Najib, not on me. Of course, I had a fairly good reputation during the period 22 years I was Prime Minister. So they need to have a Malay leader. And it's very convenient. I was there, and they said that we will appoint you as our potential Prime Minister. And that was what won the election for PH. PH won because I was a Malay leader. The others were not Malays. And the opposition was almost all non-Malay, very few Malays. Although Anwar was there, but Anwar was not regarded as a Malay leader. And so when I came in, I brought in the Malay vote, not only for myself, but also for DAP and others also. The Malay votes made the difference.
Okay, so you didn't feel like in the shock when you're supposed to be, Wawasan 2020 was your vision and you were preempted. How did you feel like, during those 3 months? Like, were you in disbelief?
Well, I was disappointed in the action taken by the 5th and 6th Prime Minister with regard to Vision 2020. They appear to have discarded or disregarded it. They didn't put any effort. So I thought that if when the opportunity came and people proposed me as the future Prime Minister, I thought I would be able to continue the job. And I thought it is doable. I have already worked out how to achieve it when I was still Prime Minister first time. So I thought that all you have to do is to continue with the policy, maybe some changes, and the objective would be met. But somehow or other, they changed. Abdullah was more concerned about his family, his children, and Najib, of course. It was fantastic that the Prime Minister of Malaysia should be known to the whole world as a crook who has stolen money. I mean, even Malaysians who are not concerned with politics didn't want him.
Okay, no worries, Tun. So tell me, Tun, you've been a prime minister about 24 years with both the rounds. So what is the most memorable moment from your time as Malaysia's PM? Like, one thing that really stood out for you.
Well, during the period I was the first time as Prime Minister, there were things that I had always thought of doing, and as a Prime Minister, I was able to do it. For example, the North-South Highway is an old idea. People thought about it, but they say we don't have the money. So we resolved the financial problem, and we built the North-South Highway. And of course, there were other infrastructure things which the country needed, and I somehow or other managed to get all those infrastructure done, despite the fact that we didn't have much money. We spent very little money for the infrastructures.
Okay, so that is your proudest moment, building
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So more Malays are now migrating out of Malaysia. It used to be Chinese and Indians, but the Malays are now following suit. So Tun, what do you make out of this?
Pardon?
What do you make out of more Malays migrating out of Malaysia?
Yeah, this never happened before. Malays were comfortable living in Malaysia. They don't want to go into a strange place. But I think they felt the pressures. During Najib's time, some of my own relatives migrated to Australia. There, they work as farmers, They were growing strawberries and selling, and they were prepared to do hard work. But in Malaysia, they wouldn't do that. So this is a new thing where Malays will settle in foreign countries and also do well. We have a person in London, several in London who are permanent residents there, also in California and in Australia, of course. So the Malays are changing. They no longer seek the comfort of their own country, partly because their own country does not provide the comfort.
Okay.
They find that they are much more comfortable in Australia, where they can do a lot of things, and they are more free in Australia, in America, in Europe, and all that than in Malaysia.
Awesome, Tun. So just bring you back to the Bumiputra rights. It's quite a sensitive issue, but I wanted to ask you, Malays and the indigenous community in Malaysia, they get special rights, you see. So, but now that, a lot of Malays are moving away from Malaysia and, going into like countries like Australia, like US and UK, do you think the government of today should actually skew the policy to reflect modern times, or just leave it as it is,
But the majority of the Malays are still in the country. They are still the poorest section of the government. The history of socialism, it was due to the disparity in the income of the haves against the have-nots. They are of the same race. People, they are English people, same race, but because of the difference, the disparity in income, they broke up, and they had the Industrial Revolution and the creation of trade unions to protect the low-income people. But it happened in a single ethnic country. So there is no ethnic-wise, there is no difference between the haves and the have-nots. But in Malaysia, there is a distinct relation to race. We find that the Chinese, despite the obstruction during the British time, actually the Chinese were prevented from doing business. Not many people know that, but I know Everything that is worthwhile is done by the British. The British have got the crown agents to supply the government with everything. No Chinese can do that. The Chinese cannot have big estates. The Chinese cannot have big business. All that goes to Mansfield and other British companies. So when we became independent, we removed all those as obstruction, and the Chinese suddenly grew at a very fast rate. You can see that this is borne by the facts, you see, and they outstrip the Malays. The Malays are left far behind because Malays are peasants. They are not business people. They don't even keep account of anything. You see, so they were far left behind. So we need to help them catch up. You can say that, well, we have all the poor people. But if you do that, the Chinese poor would be able to become rich very quickly. The Malay poor will still remain poor. This is something that I observe. So that is why we have the new economic policy during Razak's time. And we decided that we had to do something for the Malays. But the Malays let us down very badly. What we do for them actually benefited the Chinese. For example, if we give a contract to a Malay, he does not have any ability, no money, he's not able to make use of the contract. He sells it to a Chinese who can carry out. And you find that the Chinese construction industry, for example, grew very fast during the time when Malaysia was ruled. Basically, it was ruled by Malays.
But do you think that the whole policy needs to have a relook or a refreshed look? Because,
Yeah, we have to relook at the abusers. For example, when we give them a contract and they sell it off, we have to nullify that. In fact, we have launched that new project when I was a second time Prime Minister. If you get a contract or you get a license, if you sell it to a non-Malay, we take back the license. So you cannot sell it. You have to do it yourself. If you cannot do it, you may sell to another Malay. But abusers like selling APs, we give APs to import second-hand cars from Japan. They take the APs, 10 APs a month. They were selling at $8,000 for the AP. So they were very comfortable with that. You finish the 10 cars, you get another 10.
Okay, so all right, Tun. That is all the time that we have today because your office gave me 20 minutes. I am so happy to see you and I hope you're well right now. Are you better?
I am very much better. Awesome. I think I can still answer your question.
Awesome, Tun. You're great. And you're one of, I admire you very much. I want to show you this picture of my father and you.
Oh, I see. Not very clear.
Not clear. Okay, I will email it to you and I will put it in the article as well.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you, Tun. Assalamualaikum. Thank you.